Anyway, let's watch Shermichael Singleton handle these liberal dolts with ease, and as is always when he's the lone conservative on the panel, say to himself, Scott who? And then we'll talk about how New York City is heading straight off a cliff. Let's go.
Started under the Biden administration, but Pete Hegseth has not faced any consequences either.
It started 2021. It's interesting, though, Shermichael, because the Wall Street Journal's editorial board released this op-ed this morning saying, quote, there's little doubt that the underlying motivation for this prosecution is retribution. And you can't just look at this, in a vacuum. You have to look at the other indictments, too. You have James Comey, Letitia James. Those, of course, are different cases, and that distinction has been made by our legal analysts. But do you think that those other indictments essentially could weaken this case and the words that Donald Trump has used himself to target John Bolton?
No, I think those two cases are set aside. I see them as being disparate from this case. Again, as you noted, this began under the previous administration. Now, look, it's fair for Bolton to make the case that, hey, I'm not being protected like the Secretary of Defense because I'm not a friend or a supporter of the president. Okay, I'll entertain that. But that's an odious comparison, in my opinion. He broke the law. John Bolton has been in politics for, 40 years? I'm 35. That's longer than I've been alive. There isn't a person who should know better than most individuals how to handle classified information. I had a top secret clearance when I was briefly in the government. They are very precise and strict on what you can and cannot do. And if I, at 26, I believe, when I got my TS, John Bolton absolutely should have known better if I did at 26 years old. So there is no excuse for this.
His strategy and approach was to actually be on the aggressive as well. Cuomo needed to do that. Mamdani chose to do that because I think he thinks his argument against Cuomo is fundamental to the message that he is trying to portray to the broader public.
So, Shermichael, do you think Cuomo did enough to close the gap?
No, I think Dave is 100% correct. I think it's going to be Mamdani. He's incredibly talented. As a Republican, I certainly don't agree with many of his positions, but there is something to be said about the arguments that he's making to New Yorkers that is palatable. I am concerned about some of his presentations on economics. I'm concerned about the idea of the role of government as it pertains to sort of level setting for people who have economically struggled. I think there's a different way to go about certain things, but that message is resonating. And if you're a Cuomo, folks in New York know who Cuomo is. And there's some real concern about his past misgivings. There's some concern about some of the things he did as governor. And he didn't, in my opinion, effectively address those things aggressively enough. Mamdani did. He showcased strength. And even if you're a New Yorker and you're curious and maybe you say, I don't disagree with him, you watch that and say, this is a guy who will fight for me. And that moves the needle for voters.
What do you think?
So the host asked Shermichael something to the effect of, could Trump's other indictments or the words he's used against his, political opponents weaken the case? No, I don't think so. I'm no legal expert, but I believe that every case is supposed to stand on its own facts and evidence. And I'm pretty sure judges tell juries to ignore the noise, focus on what's right in front of you. Now, to be clear, I just said that having done zero research. So if there are any attorneys watching and I'm missing something, please correct me. I just thought all of that was common knowledge. Seems like a waste of multiple news segments to me, but I'm not a news producer either. I see a lot of comments that say, thanks for watching CNN so I don't have to, or how can you watch this crap all day? First of all, let me thank you for recognizing my intestinal fortitude and the sacrifices I make just to ensure that your day's a little brighter by you not having to watch CNN. I mean, I wouldn't call myself a hero necessarily, but watching CNN as much as I do does something to your being or your soul. It's like this feeling I have. I could never really describe it until I watched this panel, and now I can describe it perfectly. Here's what it feels like. It feels like Groundhog Day. That popped into my head when I was watching this episode, because when I was watching this episode, I said to myself, have I seen this one already? Anytime someone gets indicted, James Comey, Letitia James, and now Bolton, for 4 days straight, they'll have a giant segment where the entire goal is to get the conservatives on the panel to say that they're upset with Donald Trump for voicing his opinion on these people that are indicted or about to be indicted. Now, Shermichael gave the polished answer. He's doing his job, but off camera, I can almost guarantee you that if you asked him that identical question, he'd just chuckle and say, no, just like the rest of us.